Welcome back to The Short Game. This is a show about short video games, games that respect your time. I'm Reagan Kelly, and I'm joined this week by all four of my awesome co-hosts. I mean, four, including myself.
You're awesome too, Reagan.
Just counting the boxes on the screen is what you were doing.
Exactly what
Do you want to take that again, or are we rolling with it?
We're rolling.
We're rolling with it.
Okay,
That's
we're
the
rolling
energy
with
we're
it.
bringing
I'm
to
Laura
this one.
Nash.
Nate Heininger.
And Shane Kelly, your fifth co-host.
Yes. And a mysterious ghost host. And we're talking today about a game that I could not be more excited about. That is Expelled, an Overboard game from Inkle. This is the latest game from Inkle, and it is a follow-up spiritual sequel. It is an Overboard game. It is related to the incredible 2021 hit Overboard, Game of the Year, short game of the year 2021.
Yeah, we don't have a short game Hall of Fame or anything like that. Maybe we should, but if we did, Overboard, first ballot short game Hall of Fame, right? I mean, that is peak what we want in the gaming industry, and I'm so excited about this game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, just as I won a million Knives Out movies, I won a million Overboards.
Yeah, just
I don't
do
know.
this
I don't
over
know.
and over.
Glass Onion really lost me, buddy.
Oh, I liked Glass Onion.
I don't care. Poker Face, make Poker Face forever.
Yes,
Make Overboard
yeah.
forever. I'm happy.
So it's very much in the vein of Overboard. But if you haven't been with the show since 2021, or if you never played Overboard, there's a lot of things to talk about the structure here. I remember, in fact, I was listening back to our Overboard episode recently because I was prepping for this, and I was like, let me refresh my memory about everything I thought about Overboard. One of the nice things about doing a podcast is you can just go and listen to yourself talk about something that you might not remember all of your thoughts about.
Is that a nice thing?
That's what I was thinking too, Shane.
I don't know. I thought we make a good show, guys. I had fun listening.
We sure
to
do.
us.
That's what a good way to put that. Never mind.
Yeah.
I'm back on board. I love our show.
Yeah, it honestly,
Good
that was
guess.
one of my favorite episodes we've ever done because the game is incredible and it was just great talking about it. If you liked Overboard but never listened to that episode, that is the episode of the show that if I'm recommending our show to people, I recommend Overboard as a game to literally everyone. And if I'm if I've got the feeling to recommend our show to people, that episode in particular is one of the episodes that I recommend to people most because it's an incredible game. We had a lot of fun talk about it, fun things to say. We also had a great spoiler section at the end where we talked about a lot of cool stuff that happens in that game. Listeners, that's not the structure we're
Some
taking
weird
for this episode.
stuff that happens in that game.
Very much so.
yeah.
If I recall correctly.
We loved that episode, but we're not doing it that way this time. We're doing something different.
But this is also a you done it, just like Overboard.
Yes.
But it's a little different because it starts out and it's like you are being accused of it and you have to blame someone else for it. So whereas in Overboard, it starts off with, oh, I woke up and I murdered my husband. This is all the evidence points to me. What am I going to do? Slight difference. I really like that being a twist on it.
Yeah, it's a you done it, but a you I'm pointing. You done it, not me.
Someone
You
else
done
said
it.
you done it.
Someone else. You done it.
It's
this
a
one.
bit like a good old episode of Columbo where those were the how done it, and
Yes.
this has a how done it element to it, right? Where you not only are you trying to figure out how to actually accomplish the crime and get away with it, you're trying to put it off onto somebody else, but you, the audience, have been in on it from the beginning. It's just unfolding a little differently every time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Reagan was trying to talk about how we're going to handle spoilers on this episode before we get too far into just, I think, shouting praises for 45 minutes. I think we want to talk about how we're going to handle this episode.
So unlike when Overboard came out as a total surprise, the wonderful thing about Overboard was that it was this incredible pandemic project by Inkle where it was an absolute prestige, like magic trick. Woof, we've just lifted the curtain away and suddenly there's a complete game here. What the hell? It's in your hands immediately. This game was announced well in advance. We were, thankfully able to get advance codes from Inkle to play the game. Thank you very much to Inkle for providing codes. Unfortunately, we haven't had enough time to dig in quite as deeply as we had when we were playing Overboard, I think a couple of weeks after it came out. Here, we've got a little bit of a tighter timeline. So we've decided to split things up a little bit. We've all played a good amount of the game. In fact, I've played almost as many hours of this as I played of Overboard altogether, but there's a little more meat on this game in terms of just stuff. So we've decided we're going to be talking today all sort of pre-spoiler break type of conversation, and then we are going to probably do a separate spoilers episode once we've had a little bit more time with the game, and once the game has been out for maybe a week or so, we'll see, in order to dive into some of the things that we've discovered, some of the stories and the secrets and things. So this is a game that really bears that kind of talking about. Doing 2 episodes on this game, I think is the right choice. So that's what we're going to do.
Also, a quick programming note for our viewers on YouTube. Along with this episode, we are including some gameplay footage on screen to show you what the game looks like. I want to warn you that this gameplay footage is not spoiler-free. So if you're wanting a completely spoiler-free experience, the audio of this episode should be a completely spoiler-free discussion, but the video will not. So if you'd like a totally spoiler-free experience, go ahead and put this tab into the background, or maybe listen to the podcast on your podcast app of choice instead of watching along with us here on YouTube. But for those of you who are less sensitive to spoilers, hopefully this video will give you a little bit of a sense of what the game looks like and how it plays. Back to the episode.
This one is a little different from Overboard, but let's start by talking about the ways in which it's the same. So this being a follow-up, a twist on Overboard, it has the same basic structure. Overboard and this both are what Inkle calls in their press materials a next-gen visual novel. And this is something that I really wish this was true, because when Overboard came out in 2021, I was like, this is the next generation of the visual novel. We're going to see 100,000 imitators of this game, and we have not. And only Inkle can do this. They also describe this as dynamic narrative clockwork. So this is a story-based game that takes place in a very restricted location. Overboard was on a boat. Here you're walled into a girls' school and have the small world of a school for girls in, I think, rural England.
1922.
Yes, in the 1920s. And the beginning of the game begins with a murder.
Not a murder.
True, some slightly different circumstances in this game, but they both begin.
Still is
with
getting
crime.
pushed out of something.
Yeah.
Yes,
Someone's still getting pushed.
Defenestration.
There's defenestration. Yeah, smelled.
You are the prime suspect, or know very well that you will be once people discover the crime, and so you are reliving the same day again and again. It's not a true time loop, just as Overboard has, like, there is some framing around it, but it's not like she's got a magic orb that she touches to reset the day or something. It's not quite as, like, in-world as that, but you are replaying or doing sort of runs through the 30 to 45 minute story of an in-game day where you have one day to clear your name. And this all takes place in the girls' school, and really what you're trying to do is find out the secrets of everyone in the school. Find out their habits, their schedules, their secrets, everything that you can in order to try to find a way through the tangled thicket here that is the setup that you have been faced with, and try to find a way to clear your name, maybe pin the crime on someone else, maybe find the true culprit, whoever that might be, maybe just get away and live out your life somewhere other than this awful school. Many different endings are possible here. And so it's extremely replayable, but it's also a game that just has, like, it's an absolute clockwork, beautiful incredible work of like narrative structure here.
Yeah. And John Ingold said this week he's adding even more endings. So like,
No,
well, just because he's thought of funny ideas. So I think it's one of those games that's
good.
Yes, it's a good.
Yeah,
thing.
a lot of endings. Most of them, I think, end in you being expelled, which is overall a pretty light sentence for the crime of attempted murder. So I thought that was kind of okay. Like, if you did do it, like getting expelled from this shitty school is not that big of a deal.
I do love, though, that this game has added a kind of morality meter where the more evil you act, the more options you get. So you're literally filling up a little icon that starts off with an angel and ends up with like a little red-eyed person. And I've gotten that to 100, but it seems to think I can go further, and I really want to know what happens.
I did one action that gave me 260 points or something like that. So
it starts at 0 to 100, so that's pretty good. I also love how British it is because it is scaling up, but it's not like going from angel to demonic. I'm somewhere right now around the range of quite cheeky.
Yeah.
So I don't.
I forget the actual name, but like I'm well into this is an evil child territory now. It's great.
I
love this.
It's funny the things that actually reduce it too, because it's like, you went to geometry class. You 5 points off of your evil total.
I just think it's a delightful addition because sometimes these games, as you're trying to max min or trying to find the ideal run, can get really repetitive. And having new stuff show up the more evil you get is a very fun mechanic.
It's brilliant. And it also really incentivizes you to kind of choose the bad girl options. Something that really struck me about this was like, Overboard starts with you're murdering your husband, but you are immediately on the side of Veronica because Veronica, I don't know, she's a little bit weird, but she seems all right? And he probably had it coming, and we learn very quickly he really had it coming for several reasons. So immediately you're like, yeah, this game starts with this poor young woman or girl being thrown out. She has some kind of speech impediment, and she's
I think she's just from the.
It's not a speech
impediment.
I swear she has a speech impediment.
No, they
Are you
just
sure?
She's just a dumb hockey player, like field hockey player
fine.
with a
They
strong
write
accent.
out their accents.
Apologies to the people of rural Britain.
Wherever
Their accents
she's
are
from.
written phonetically.
Hardcastle land.
Yeah.
But you didn't really see like, poor Charles or whatever his name is, just like terror-stricken falling into the deep at the very first moments of Overboard, where here we spend a long time dwelling on the face of this child falling from great heights to her probable death. And I immediately was like, why have we done this? And then of course, like the beginning of the game is you haven't done this. And the main character, Verity Amersham.
Some great names in this game.
Oh yeah,
Verity Amersham.
Verity is she's like, she's a little cheeky, but she's a charming young girl. She's a scholarship student. She comes from a rural.
To be an actress.
Yeah,
Yes.
she wants to be an actress. She's going to this private school on scholarship to like improve her status in life. Everyone's treated her badly. But so like, she seems like a good kid, and like, but I also felt real bad for this poor sports kid falling out of a window. But as the game progresses and you gain more and more evil points and you get access to more and more evil stuff, it's not exactly that she like has a heel turn. It's more just like I, as the player, am much more willing to buy into, okay, so that girl did have it coming. Shove her out the window. Yeah. Somebody is getting in our way. Let's bonk them on the head. Let's hide the body. Like,
it gives you this really wonderful tone shift from the kind of more idealized version of the school for promising young ladies into the fact that this is a wretched hive of scum and villainy, and that they're all awful.
Everyone's awful, and you're also telling the story to your dad in the pub, and you're crying into it. And the first several times, you are perfectly innocent. You haven't done anything bad.
I didn't do anything, Dad.
I didn't do anything, Dad. And then by the end, he knows.
That's how
what's
it
up.
frames. It's pretty. I do like love a good dream sequence framing, right? Because that's how it sets up the time loop. Every time it ends, because you don't go to jail for any of this, you just get expelled. You're telling your dad what actually happened. And Reagan, he doesn't have a speech impediment. He's just speaking in his accent as well.
I knew
It's
that
spelled
one, okay?
It's spelled
Her dad
phonetically.
is some sort of horrible animal man who grunts instead of talking.
And she's like, no,
Look,
this is
I
how
still,
it really
I still think
happened.
she has a speech impediment. I don't know if I believe any of you. She does not have.
I
She
don't
does
know.
not sound
I
like
don't know.
anyone else in this game.
I think we're right and you're wrong, but we'll figure it out later. But I just like, she's like, this is how it really happened. Then you get a classic, like Wayne's World, like as it fades away and you get to do the story again. You as the human playing have retained everything you've learned. And then now you as the player are going through and doing everything, trying to find new avenues. But
Glad
maybe
you clarified that the human playing the game doesn't forget what happened before.
it's
I
important.
mean, that's a mechanic that I haven't actually seen tried. I'd really like it, but
It's how
That is my
it happens
problem
to
with a lot
me.
of games, though.
Yeah, I put this game down mid-run and I picked it up. I'm like, what even was I trying to accomplish in this run?
Yep.
I'm just going to get expelled quickly because
that was my problem in the original not original Expelled. I'm already calling it in Overboard. I would get into kind of a habit of like, man, this is exactly how this story is supposed to go, and then I would have just gone through like 2 runs, having made 0 different choices. Maybe picked up the different color hat or something boring.
Yeah. Well, I do appreciate that you can go into settings and just be like, it's 7:30 again. I bail. Like I did that on one of these where I forgot to hide some incriminating evidence, and they walked in with it, and I was like, well, reset that one.
They were they as permissive with like restarting scenes in Overboard as they are in this
I don't
one? 'Cause
remember that.
They did, yes.
don't-
Yeah,
Okay.
they had a reset the scene button in that as well. You could do it once per scene. If you'd done it
That's
once
They give you
already, then you couldn't
unlimited-
do it again.
You can do it unlimited times, it seems like. In
Oh,
this
really?
one.
I haven't
Yeah.
tried that. That's cool. Okay.
There's
yeah,
there
this-
also
I actually never reset the scene, but that's
I didn't either. There's a lot of quality
Glad
of
you
life
can.
things in this game though. With it highlights. This may have been an Overboard. I don't remember, but it highlights the selections you made the last time you played through this scene, which is really great. So you can know for sure if you're purposefully or not making the same decision. You also can hold a button. Like I was playing on Steam Deck and it worked great on Steam Deck, and like right trigger and it'll just speed through everything, making the same selections you had made the last time if you want to just get through a scene also, which was quite nice sometimes.
And the way they implemented that, my favorite thing about that is that when it does come to a choice, it'll be speeding through the dialogue, in the same way that like you see in a lot of visual novels. But when it gets to a choice, it has those 3 options, and it's always 3. This is one of my things that we talked about with Overboard, and that I love about the design here is every time it gives you a choice, it's always 3 choices. It's always 3 choices, and it's always like. John Inkle talked about this in a talk at some point, and it was like, what did he say? It was like he had a word for this. I'm sorry, I wish I'd written it down. But it's like a really smart design decision about how it's structured. But anyway, that was not what I was saying. The button has a sort of a progress bar that fills in. So if you're holding down that go button to have it just sort of like play through a scene you've already seen before, you still have like, it gives you enough time to see, a choice is happening, and you can let off that button if you want to make a different choice this time. It's really, really well implemented and well done. Everything that they did in Overboard is here. Stuff like the option of resetting the day, the incredible map where you can see where all of the characters are. And so, this is taking place over the course of a single in-game day. It's very important to know at what time of day which characters are where. And you can see when you're looking at the map, you can click on a room and see like who's there now, who will be there when you get there, which is really important. Like if I go to the geometry class, is the teacher still going to be in there, or will she have left yet by then? So it's like really, really well implemented. This is just like a bigger version of what made Overboard so incredible.
Yeah, it's kind of everything you want from in a follow-up to a game, right? Like everything you loved about the old one is here. Now it's just more and expanded and a twist on the overall story, but it just feels like a natural expansion of the framework. And as was said already once, like I think I could have 1,000 of these.
Yeah.
It's such a fun little mechanic.
I think this is such a strong structure too. And I looked up what Reagan was talking about. It's from the ADX 2018. He talked about sparkling dialogue. And
that was such a good talk.
Highly recommend. I recommend it at work all the time because it has a lot to do with how you structure conversations. For people working on conversational design or chatbots or customer service, it's great. But one, there's always a trap door, which is the I'm done. There's always a get out of this button. And here it's actually it's a little back button that you can mouse over at any time. It's like, stop talking. You're never trapped in a conversation. Thank you. And the third is the 3 choices are always to accept, reject, or deflect. So you can change the conversation, react, like dismiss it, or you can go with it. And love that. It's wonderful.
There's often one other button. You know, you've got your 3 choices. You've got your trapdoor, bail on the conversation. And often there's another one, which is just run the heck out of the room and leave.
Yeah, get out too.
Yeah.
Back to the map, which is, the ultimate way to get out of a conversation you don't want to be in. But you can't run forever. Eventually, the principal will catch you.
Verity also has a lot of pockets, or very big pockets, in that school dress.
She
because
sure
there's
does.
There's a lot of items you can pick up, and I had to run by the end. I had like 11 items in my in my head,
just clinking around with a dress full of bottles and Bibles, and
I think they made a joke about her
glass
having really big
shards.
pockets in her outfit. I was laughing
it's
when
a
she
thing.
put two full size slippers into her pants.
It made a note of she had to roll them up to cram them in. I want to talk a little bit about the rhythm of the day, because that's one of the things that because you're playing the same day again and again and again, you get to know the rhythm of the school. Like there's sort of school life element to this, which visual novel fans will love. But it's got this like specific order of things that happens, right? And finding the like space within or around that is what really makes is what really allows you to like figure out this school day. So like
I love that they gave you a timetable that you could just pick up that was laying around in your room. That's one of the best things that they added to a game like this.
Thank you.
Put it
Just
in
having
my
a source
inventory,
of
I can look
truth.
at it.
Yeah, just having like something you can always kind of fall back on, where like
When is
I
lunch?
at least know everyone expects me to be here at this time. So depending on what kind of run you're going for, what your objectives are, it can be really useful to know where you should be. And if you don't know what to do, then that gives you a little bit of a guideline as well.
Yeah, I
number of
definitely
times.
realized after like 5 or 6 runs that I had never gone to gym. I was like, oh crap, I never went to the gym class.
Well, I just kept
like
talking
me
to
in
the
high school.
gardener, and then it turned into gym class, and I was always like, "No, I needed to leave." Like they won't let you run out of gym class, but you can hide in the bushes. That's one of the only times they hide the leave this area button. Like you cannot get out of gym class once it starts.
You have
just
to go.
hide
You have
in
to
the
go
bushes and
creep
hang.
into the bushes. So within that day, like I think one of the things that's very different about this versus Overboard is it has a little more structure to the day. You have this like there's classes to attend, that kind of stuff, which is a little different from the way things were structured in Overboard. One of the things that's very different, at least I think it feels very different to me, is that the end of the day in Overboard was always one of the characters always summons everyone together at the end of the day to kind of have the like trial, right? It's not a trial
Poirot-ish
truly,
doctor.
but,
The Indian doctor. Yeah.
Yes, Singh. He was Commander Singh, I think. He gathers everyone together and has and everyone presents evidence, right? What's really different about this is that instead of that, there is an end of term prize giving where the headmistress, Miss, what is her name?
Mulligatawney.
Mulligatawney.
It's a great name.
Who's just a weird character.
They call her the Owl.
Yeah, where the owl gets up in front of the whole class in the chapel and gives out awards to people, and your award is you're the worst and you're expelled.
If you make it that far, you can be
if you don't get
expelled
kicked out first.
many number of times before. In fact, there's a light objective setting system in this game as well. And just getting to the prize giving section is a bit of an objective.
Kind of a challenge,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I got
couple
expelled. I got expelled multiple times before even understanding how to avoid getting expelled in the first hour of the school day.
Oh yeah, you can definitely get expelled by 9 a.m. and I
These
did
games
several
make
times.
me realize I'm never going to be able to get away with committing murder. I just
No.
Or Shane, they're just helping you train. So now we know a little bit more about what we need to do.
All you need to do if you need to commit murder is commit the same murder 100 times.
If you
Then
have
you'll
Groundhog
get it.
Day technology, you can commit
Yes.
murder, but otherwise, don't do it.
If you have Groundhog Day technology and you're certain that this isn't the run that's going to get you out of the Groundhog Day, you're probably trying this a little bit, right? You're going and killing someone, seeing if you can get away with it.
seeing
It's
how
not
many
the movie.
things I can fit in my pockets.
I'm sure he did. We just didn't see it in the they say it was 10,000 years that he was in those loops. I bet he went on some killing sprees.
Yeah. Oh, he for sure did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, what were you saying, Reagan?
I guess
Transition
what I was going to say was that, yeah, I think the ending of the day is really different in this game. And the biggest difference is about that headmistress specifically, because there was a very, in Overboard, it's very much everyone is there to find the facts. Everyone's got their own motivation, but there's a detective who's there to find the facts, right? And that was sort of you're trying to obfuscate things and frame somebody,
Hide the evidence.
or hide the evidence, whatever. But ultimately, it's a very, very traditional detective ending moment. This is the headmistress has it out for you. She is not trying to find the facts. She is trying to get you expelled specifically. And it's a kind of a different thing. You're not just trying to get away with it or not have the finger pointed at you. That is not sufficient. You have to overcome a pretty high hurdle with that headmistress. You not only have to not have evidence pointing to you, you really have to frame somebody else before she is willing to even consider that you might not have been involved. And even then, she's got her eye on you. You know what I mean? That is a very big difference. It's sort of a vibe shift of this that's very different from Overboard. And at first, I didn't love that, actually. I was like, oh, man, come on, man. I've done everything I can, and you're still hassling me? Come on, man. But I actually really ended up coming to like that about it, because I think it's it lets you have the slightly lower stakes. This is an attempted murder. So, it's a little bit
And it's
different.
kids.
And it's kids.
15
actual murder.
real chill.
Yeah, but it's just she's also a more interesting character than sort of just a basic detective person, right? So she's got her own motivations. You have to figure out how to play her in addition to figuring out how to frame somebody or whatever you're going to do to get off.
Yeah. I'm currently about 5 hours in, and I know dirt on everybody, but haven't figured out how to apply all of it. But I know everyone's secrets, and that's inherently fun on itself. But I know that they're also, because this is that kind of game, if I can figure out how to apply those secrets, I will become the most powerful person in the universe. Each run, I'm like, this one, I'm going to really put the screws on the poor girl who likes to read. Going after her. Because I know there's secrets, and I'm like, there has to be an extra thing. They wouldn't tell me this cool thing that's really intriguing if it didn't pay off. And I think that's the difference in this round is I'm less self-preservation and more how do I find out their big end game?
Bringing her down.
Yeah, it's eventually you're like, oh yeah, this is the run where I'm gonna bring down what was her name? Poor Susan.
I'm like, where does Susan go during gym class?
I made a note of when they introduced Susan, because I loved this game is so full of good writing and dialogue. Of course, we didn't even get into that because it's
a given, and
Inkle,
it's great.
of course it is. But I made a note of the line when they introduced Susan, who's this adorable little cherubic schoolgirl, and it introduced Verity describes her as the kind of pipsqueak who holds your hand when she's talking to you. And it's like something about that just like, I was like, oh yeah, okay, I know exactly who this. It's like, and she's going down. This pipsqueak.
Yeah, I had a run where I really was just in the weeds with what was I even trying to accomplish on this, and I ended up trying to like pin it all on poor Susan with no evidence at all, and it just went. I felt bad. It didn't work. It was just a bad run altogether. But then I thought, okay, wait, if it's even giving me the option to pin it on Susan, I bet I just didn't prepare for this appropriately, and there's a way to get out of this with it being Susan. So now I have a little bit of, guidance to figure her out. And the other side of it, like I know some shit about Mulligatawney, but I haven't found the right path for it all to come together at the end to like present the information and get away with it. So it's like I feel like I know the end state here. I know where I start and I know where I end. It's all of what seems like 1,000 options in between that I don't quite know what to do to get there yet. And I think that's the fun of the game too. I like how they dole out these like big chunks early to get you into it, and you start to see these, but the actual solve of it is different. I feel like a lot of other detective games, you're like working your way up to the solution. This, you kind of have the solution, but it's how do you get to the point where you get to apply the solution? It's really complicated. I can't imagine how they crafted this sort of thing. I guess it took them 4 years.
I mean, they have an absolutely wild content warning on this. I mean, the content warning is a beautiful paragraph. I will not read it for people who don't want spoilers, but I'm literally using it as a achievements block where I'm like, okay, I found the storylines with this, and this, but I haven't found this is not like, I haven't for the pandas. Pandas are not in that list, but there's some wild stuff in there that I'm like, where do I find it? I gotta go find it. It's great. And there's things I found that aren't in that list that are just absurd. And a thing this game does a lot is, like a good adventure game is it will say, there's a secret here. You haven't figured out how to get all the way through the secret yet. Like you can't pull that brick out of the wall. And you're like,
yeah.
And then the whole game, you're like, okay, what object can I use? Like you're kind of thinking ahead, but there's so many things per run that it's not like you're being blocked. You just go try something else and find something opportunistically the next run. I never feel stopped when I find something like that. I'm just like, a thing for a future run.
Yeah, there's also another classic adventure game. I thought more interactive fiction. There's a classic Labyrinth where you're turning left, you're turning right, or going straight, or going backwards. And like always, I fail to, keep notes and write maps or anything, and I end up getting lost in this cellar. Thinking back to interactive fiction, the IF Comp week where I'm constantly typing, go forward, go backward, go left, go right, getting lost. But it worked really well in this game, and I have to imagine it's a nod to, all the interactive fiction that's led up to this game too.
Mm-hmm. That was a fun sequence too, because it does feel like sort of like nod to older games, but also like once you discover some facts, there's ways to make that more trivial, so you don't have to go in there with graph paper if you don't want to. So yeah, it's I don't know where to bring this up, but I think I don't want to get out of this episode without talking about what a great character Verity is. And I think the place that really cemented it for me was when we found her Filth Book.
Yeah.
The Filth Book is my favorite thing about Verity.
I still haven't found that.
Well, I don't know if that's a number of runs or if that's a number of naughtiness, but there's something that triggers you getting the Filth Book.
No,
Success.
you can find
Someone
it.
stole it, right?
Oh, you can get it right away.
Okay.
That's great.
You can get it right away, because I accidentally came across it in the library. Okay, sorry, I won't spoil it there. But to
I
explain
knew I
what
would
that
like
is-
Verity, though. You're saying Verity is a great character, instantly a great character to me. She has the same voice actress as the narrator in Baldur's Gate 3. Great actress.
Oh,
the whole
dude,
cast, really,
nice.
really good. So
I will also say for the Overboard fans, they're sticking with their team, same actress as Veronica from the previous game. So they're working as a team.
Wait,
and I didn't know.
Okay, there you
yeah,
go.
same girl. So a little bit of a different voice that she's doing here. But you're right. Like I didn't immediately recognize her from the Baldur's Gate narrator, but
got range.
they mentioned that in the press
She's
kit.
got range.
She does.
I saw that in the press kit, and I was like, wait, I hear it.
Little less, a lot of
great.
dialogue in Overboard and Expelled. Not quite as much dialogue as Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
What I
I
think
heard a
was
lot of
what I was
that
trying to get at there was that like she's a great alignment of like player I don't know, desire and just like character, because you come to understand about her, like she's not really she's a little bit morally gray. She's not really a bad person unless you really play her that way. But she freaking loves secrets and dirt. That's what she loves. And you know, when I mentioned the Filth Book, that's like her. She has a book where she has written down all of the dirt she has on people. And she's you know, this is like a prized possession.
This is a tiny spoiler, but I'm going to say it because I think this is one of the best design decisions of the game, is that the Filth Book is your way of repeating stuff you found in previous runs. So it's your shortcut, which is brilliant, but you have to earn, like you have to do some work before you get there. So like your secrets are her secrets, and that's perfect.
Yeah. It has this sort of diegetic feel to it where like if you learn something very juicy about a character, and then you've reset the day, Verity doesn't remember that at the beginning, but then if you go find your Filth Book and read it, then you remember all of these details that you as the player learned about earlier, which can be very important because it can open up important dialogue stuff where like, oh, I went and read the Filth Book and I remembered learning this XYZ, and because of that, then I can go and, you know, have a confronting conversation with somebody about something I learned, even if that happened in a different run.
That's so cool. I have not found this stupid book yet. How many runs did it take you? Because I've done 7 runs.
I think I've done 11 or 12, and you can you'll find it if you look. I don't think it's a spoiler to say, like, look under your pillow. It's like you start the game in or around your bed.
But at some
look under your
point,
pillow.
Fifi will just straight up be like, "Hello, I hate you because of your Filth Book." I'm trying.
I never came across
so
that.
So if you haven't found it by a certain point in the game, you can trigger a version where Fifi's like, "You're a terrible person because of your Filth Book," and then
that does explain why she despises me so much.
Oh,
yeah.
So the game will eventually tell you about these shortcuts if you don't find them.
Okay.
So there are other ones I won't talk about. The Filth Book is just a great intro one, but the game will tell you about the Filth Book if you don't. Like very soon.
It'll probably tell me very soon.
Probably your next run.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see.
That's what I've loved the most about these two games is just how run-based they are, but they have this kind of progression that, you know, you feel like you're restarting and starting fresh, and that takes away a lot of the mental baggage of like, well, am I paying enough attention to what's going on here? But it is going to naturally carry you through and kind of help you along in those situations where you're like might feel stuck and like you're repeating things over and over again.
Well, and there is, I mentioned it earlier, but there is like light objective setting in the game too. And there's a little drop down that'll say like, find out what Fifi was talking about or something like that. You know, it's a direct, a little quest marker basically. If you're really struggling on where to go and what to do next, you can follow through those too.
I mean, these games are like these incredible, intricate narrative design. Like, I don't think it's weird to say these are narrative design masterpieces with like incredibly intricate pieces that fit together. But it's also wild how much of like I feel like they are really bringing together elements of like all of the genres we love. And I was thinking about it more in this time through this of like we've had conversations recently about the nameless genre that some people are foolishly calling Metroidvanias, the games that are.
I've decided I like it.
I don't like it.
Listeners, we've been having this conversation behind the scenes. We have decided it's our job to come up with a better name for the genre. We're talking about the genre that includes things like Outer Wilds or maybe Tunic, the genre that is focused primarily around exploration with knowledge gating. Animal Well is another great example, maybe, where there are things that you could do from minute one if only you had the knowledge. But once you have explored and discovered, then the world is opened to you, much in the way that a special rocket jump opens new territory for you when you acquire it in a Metroidvania. Here it's similar, but it is all about knowledge. This is the narrative version of that. Where it's also got the runs from it doesn't have the runs, that sounds gross, from a roguelike. It brings in all the visual novel stuff and interactive fiction stuff, and just this is fucking video games, man. This is bringing it all together. This is such a masterwork of just everything that is good about games, man.
It's very gamey in the way that, like, you in a more visual novel-y kind of thing, this is in that space. How do you make that feel really gamey and not just like you're engaging with a story? You layer on lots of different systems. And this has layered on system after system of kind of narrative timetables and interactions between
you have an
inventory and states and items and objects.
Yeah,
and there are probably games out there. There are lots of games out there that do try this in the kind of RPG space and that have some success. But you're navigating some weird little 3D character and trying to open chests and stuff. And it doesn't work like this works. This works so fluidly because you're able to just sort of easily move from scene to scene, and it all works. All this complexity is happening in the background, making all these reactions that the game has to you feel so organic and natural.
It also makes it really feel like a 1920s to 1947 era Golden Age detective book, because those books are all about goddamn timetables. Like, I read one that was literally about, like, let's go look at tide charts. I was like, why am I looking at the tide charts? And they were like, based on the tide chart, this body died the day before. And I was like, what? Why is this in a book? Bad in a book, great in a video game. Especially when you're trying to avoid it. It makes the whole ticking clock thing in the one day and, like, the perfect moving around and avoiding is something that, like, Poirot, Marple, like all the Dorothy L. Sayre books cares about, and, like, no modern books do. Like, the timetable is not a modern thing, so it helps this throwback feel even more.
I think everybody loves a crime drama, a whodunit. Like, I think this is a genre that has been everyone loves, or it's highly loved. I won't say everyone, but it doesn't really exist very well in video games. Right?
You know what I was kind of thinking about in terms of this sort of thing in video games? There's only one game I can think of that is kind of shooting for the same space that this one is, and it was Bully by Rockstar.
Yeah.
Did anybody here play that one?
I played some Bully.
I never have.
Is that in the same space? I know it's the only other game I can think of that is at a non-magical school for children.
Well, if you just mean it being in a school and it focusing around, like, teens and things like that.
Misbehaving children.
Yeah, misbehaving children, I think so. But the crime drama element of this whole thing is it's like there's like L.A. Noire was a detective game from 20 years ago that a lot of people thought did pretty well at the time, but I can't think of very many that make you actually feel like you are either really solving a crime or getting away with a crime. I guess the Oberdin and things like that. You're kind of
I mean, there's a huge genre of mystery games, and a lot of them are detectives.
Yeah.
But none of them are this, man. This is a unique thing. And like, I know I've said it before, but like, why are there not 100 of these? Why is this not the most imitated game formula ever? And
because I imagine this took them 4 years to write all of this.
Well,
and put it all together.
They made Overboard in 4 months during the pandemic remotely. Like,
well, it did take them 4 years for this one because they did Highland Song. Like they do. This is their rest game. They do these to rest, which is amazing.
Which like. I love Inkle. I'll play everything they ever create. Highland Song didn't really do it for me. This is incredible. I love this game. So
they did that Google game. Did Inkle do that Google
Forever
game
Labyrinth.
too?
That was also really cool.
We did that. Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
I'll say one more thing about the specificness, like Inkleness of this, and that is that I think each run I spend maybe 40% of the time actively trying to hide the fact that I may or may not have pushed a girl out the window. And I spent the other 60% of the run just trying to find the most random stuff out. And because they put wild things into the game.
Yes.
Overboard, I believe you can talk to the devil, right, Shane?
You could go to the chapel on the boat and talk to God at any time, and that was sort of the hint system.
You could just start talking to God.
That was great.
And there were some very strange. I remember there was some bits with like dolphins that were very,
you
very
could talk
weird.
to like dead people and all sorts of. Because there was like the rotting corpse in the water you could talk to or something like that.
This doesn't get that surreal, but there's a lot of weird stuff
yes, it
going
does.
on at this school.
Oh, yes, it does, Laura.
It does. Okay, yes, it does. It does. It gets really weird.
I think there's something in Miss Mulligatawney's office that you haven't checked out.
Yep. I completely forgot about that. I did that so early that I was like,
definitely you can do the runs can be quick enough too where you can be like, I'm going to do the most absurd choice. Every step of the way, whatever's in front of me, I'm going to do the most absurd choice. Sometimes that does lead to you being expelled within the first hour of the game, but you can finesse it a little bit and still make extreme absurd choices and make it very far just being an absolutely over the top character and learn a lot about about what you're trying to figure out. Get expelled, start the whole thing over, and take a more measured approach or whatever your objective is that turn.
Yeah, and this game feels very short, but I will be playing it for a lot longer, I feel like.
Yeah, it certainly feels like this will be a game that you kind of just finish when you feel like you got enough from it. There's a lot of endings, and they said they're adding more, which is cool. But I don't know if
For some people, getting all the endings is going to be like a fun chase.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm going to probably find some natural ending point with it. But
but I mean, with Overboard, I spent a ton of time I remember with Overboard, that game had like different tiers of completing it. So like you could get away with the murder, and get the insurance money, or you could get away with the murder, get the insurance money, and not be blackmailed. And there was like different tiers of success. And I'm sure this game has a lot of that kind of stuff too. I haven't quite been successful enough. Great.
The promotional materials say you can become head girl.
Ooh, nice.
So I'm assuming that's the top tier. I have gotten the first two, and I know what the third is, but I haven't fully achieved it.
Would Verity really want to be top girl though? Is that really or head girl?
I think she definitely
girl?
wants power.
If you put on the prefect badge, you immediately say, "Yay, I can bully people."
All right,
awesome.
All right.
So she might be ready for it.
That's in character.
Yeah, I love her. She's amazing. And all the other characters are great too. I think we're going to have to save our sort of character by character talk through of how great all of the characters are for the spoiler conversation, because some of what makes these characters so exciting and not just a caricature of a girl in a girls' school are their secrets, but all of them have interesting secrets. And that's what makes these games so special, is like finding out those secrets and just how intricate everything is. Every character you talk to has a reason for saying what they're saying to you. They have secrets. They remember what they see and what you say to them, and will take action that makes sense based on all of that. There are certainly scripted scenes, but like this is an absolute this is such a showcase for what they can do, not just writing, but also technically. These guys developed that ink system that's also used by many other companies now, but like it's this incredible like scripting engine for this kind of stuff. They can reactively create dialogue for these characters based on many, many, many different things that have happened in front of, to, and around them. That is just incredibly intricate and smart. So like this game, super replayable. I'm going to be playing this a lot. That said, it's still a short game. This is not a game where you're going to play for 10 hours and be like, man, I still only barely scratched the surface. Like,
I got to grind for more gear.
Nah. So it's definitely well within the short game territory, but it is, there's definitely a little more to this one than there was with Overboard. And that's exciting for me because like, man, I love that game, and I'm so excited to play more of this. Any last stuff we're already almost at an hour and we haven't even done spoiler stuff, so we're going to do that in another episode. I don't think we have time for what's making us happy this week on this particular episode. I'm
going to keep what's making me happy to myself.
Yeah.
Will not be sharing it.
You have to come on our Discord and ask. Does anybody have any last stuff to say about Expelled, an Overboard game, releasing March 12th on Steam, Nintendo Switch, and on the App Store on iOS?
Yes, this is one that we got promo codes for on Steam. If I hadn't played this many hours of it, I would be picking it up on iOS because I love having these on the subway.
Yeah.
If I can figure out how to transfer my save file, I will be buying this on iOS. But that's going to be something that I figure out after the 12th because this game is Overboard was so good on mobile. I can't imagine a world where this isn't as well.
We just spent the entire time talking about the writing, the narrative, the characters, etc., and didn't say anything about how good the game looks or how good the game sounds. I don't.
I
think
thought
we
the
need
art
to go
of the
for
first one
too
was
long,
great.
but
The art of this one is way better. It's even way better.
fully realized, full color, full character animations in a lot of scenes.
Yeah, not black and white like the last one.
You know
many
what I'm
more
saying.
poses and expressions for the characters in this one. It's like a lot more like Verity is just very dynamic. It's not like fully animated or something, but like she has a ton of different expressions and they're deployed very well.
The fashion is accurate, but it's not as fun as rich people on a boat, but it's completely correct. Like the fashion is perfect for the time period. Everybody's clothes say a lot about who they are. There's just no like, I'm not going to go out and cosplay like I wanted to in Overboard because this is a girls' school, but it's still wonderful and perfect and very detailed, very accurate. They had a lot of fun designing this game.
I'm going to cosplay as the chaplain.
Oh, please do.
Oh my god!
Would you like some tea?
No,
Cosplay as the window.
we're all
Actually, I'll
cosplaying as the
cosplay as
window
Nun
right
Jenny.
now, buddy.
Because that's going to be really easy. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So much fun. Listeners, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of The Short Game. You can find our show and all of the stuff about it at shortgame.fm. That is the website with all the links and buttons where you can go to our show on all the podcast platforms. There's a link to us on YouTube. Did you know that we're on YouTube? A lot of our listeners have been listening for many years on the podcast platforms and may not have realized that we put a lot of effort recently into our YouTube presence. And now every episode is going up same day with a accompanying YouTube video version. You can see what we look like if you're hearing only my voice right now. And I'm doing my best to include video clips of games, gameplay, trailers, etc. along with. It'll be the same content, but if you'd rather, we're there as well.
Reagan's been doing a really good job on these edits. I wasn't on the Next Fest episode, but I watched it. It was really fun being able to see clips of the game as you guys described it.
Thank you. There's
I
probably
also
be a
want
little
to call
bit less
you
of
out,
that
Reagan,
on
for
this
doing
one, but-
great YouTube thumbnails. They are exactly as
They're
over the top
not-
and
they're
ridiculous
not good.
as the typical YouTube thumbnail.
No, they're not, because my face isn't in them going like, "Urgh!"
Take my Chaplin impression and make that the.
I think the title of this game has a very YouTube thumbnail kind of feel to it, though, right? Because it's got
Expelled!
one
Yeah.
exclamation point.
gotta have-
Expelled?
I mean,
add
the
some question
tagline
marks,
is
too.
someone's gotta take the fall. Like, it's too perfect.
Perfect. It's perfect in every way.
I'm just the thumbnail for this episode is going to be like my face going like, "Ugh," and it's going to say, "I murdered a child."
You won't know what really goes on at this girls' school. And then expelled in tiny letters.
Well, if you enjoyed this episode about this child murder simulator, you can find us at shortgame.fm. The other thing you can find from there is a link to our Patreon. This is a patron-supported show. We really appreciate you, all of our patrons. Thank you so much for your help supporting the show. The number one reason to join our Patreon is that all of our patrons get access to the incredible Short Game Discord community, which is where we talk about games, support, we share tips. This is going to be this is what I really can't wait until our listeners have access to this game so we can unprivate the channel that we've been sharing. Our listeners are great at sharing spoiler tag tips.
You're gonna immediately do better than all of us at this game.
Yes.
I already know.
Yeah, and they all are so much better at games than we are, and so
Yeah.
they're going to be a great resource. We would love to chat with you about your playthrough. Help with tips with each other. This is a great game for that sort of conversation. So really looking forward to that. And you can find me on the internet. All the links and everything are on shortgame.fm. I won't bore you with all the details. Find us on the various socials. I'm Reagan Kelly.
I'm Lauren Ash.
Nate Heininger.
And Shane Kelly.
And thank you once again for joining us on this episode of The Short Game.
And Reagan, it's attempted child murder simulator,
Correct.
please.
Yes.